Hello, I'm not being held hostage. This video will be separated into 3 parts based on the various tips featured. Researchable units, and strategy, and I will be explaining everything. Being the strongest infantry units in the game, Juggernauts provide a big advantage to the people who can acquire them first. Juggernauts are expensive, slow, and tanky units that specialize in wiping out FOBs. Because of their high cost, it is important to have a strong economy before researching and buying them. You need to spend around $460 just to research them and build a fort. 2 research them just cost $200, 1 fort costs $200, and the Juggernaut research costs $60. Submarines excel in taking down any naval unit because they cannot be attacked by any naval unit except destroyers. It is usually best to wait for your opponent's navy to be composed mostly of battleships before using them. Destroyers pose a large threat to submarines. However, submarines, like most units, find strength in numbers. Lastly, it is usually a good idea to strike the port of your enemy first upon acquiring submarines to stop the enemy from retaliating. That's annoying and intimidating. Space fighters are a powerful tool for destroying your opponent's economy. However, like Juggernauts, they are quite expensive. Using space fighters effectively means being constantly on the move and preferably unnoticed by distracted opponents. They will prompt your enemies to build anti-aircraft, in which case they may not be as useful. However, keep in mind that building plants near enemy crystals will stop your enemies from building anything else. Space fighters can also be garrisoned within motherships and will automatically heal. In the beginning of the game, you are limited to 10 troops, 7 tanks, and 7 planes total. However, it is possible to increase this number plus 4 through research. Generally, you should increase the cap of the unit type you will use the most. Having an extra 4 Juggernauts, for example, can turn the tide of that. Having 11 space fighters can also significantly increase efficiency of plant raids. Although uncommon, you may sometimes have a chance to use nukes. They are very useful at destroying the final base the enemy is defending, or getting rid of a bunch of enemy troops. However, don't rely on nukes as a strategy because they are almost never used in competitive game. They are pretty slow and enemies can see them coming from miles away. It is best to use them against stationary targets, such as buildings, or in survival games where you can predict where the enemy is going to go and perfectly time your shot. Explosive tanks are extremely effective when it comes to taking down buildings. They cost only $60, however, they are extremely fragile and can be countered using troops as sacrifices. It is a good idea to send explosive tanks in after the main part of your army. At a whopping $220, the general grants 50% increased damage to all infantry units nearby. However, these buffs do not stack, meaning you should only use 1 at a time. Generals are not particularly strong, which means that they should be used within armies capable of defending them. Generals are also faster than most infantry troops, which means that one must pay close attention to them when moving armies. However, the transportation of armies can be significantly faster due to the use of meditrucks. For the relatively cheap price of $90, it can garrison up to 12 units. Moreover, when your units are in the truck, they will be automatically healed. Furthermore, it is important to pay close attention to meditrucks because if they are killed with troops inside, the troops inside will also perish. Because of the abundance of islands, transport ships are rendered less effective, and one will waste large amounts of time garrisoning ungarrisoned troops. Hovercrafts, however, can travel between land and water, and are faster than transport ships, and can also shoot other units. Hovercrafts can garrison up to only 2 units, but allows them to attack while garrisoned. They are also relatively cheap, at only $90. This makes them useful in the beginning of the game, allowing you to quickly establish FOBs closer to the enemy. However, despite being a naval unit produced by the naval shipyard, they cannot be healed by repairmen. Artillery is very useful in taking out enemy defenses and doing heavy damage to buildings. However, they can only attack buildings and cannot attack anything else. Furthermore, they require a long time to be researched and cost a whopping price of $115. The artillery has longer range than any defensive building, so you don't need to worry about them being attacked by buildings. Be careful when using them by placing units around them. Artillery units have low health and can be easily destroyed. Use these powerful units wisely. Most games will not come down using artillery, which means that your strategy should not revolve around artillery. The quirk of snipers is that they can only attack troops. However, they are slow and costly. Pairing them up with faster vehicles such as jeeps, Humvees, or hovercrafts will allow you to harass the enemy army. I recommend using them with hovercrafts because having an army of juggernauts is much more valuable than a small force of fragile snipers on maps that do not have water. Using them in hovercrafts allow you to abuse their large range. This strategy isn't very often used, but if your enemy has attacked your buildings or your ships have been damaged, repairmen can be used to repair buildings and ships. Keep in mind that this is usually more common that people will simply buy new ships or buildings, and that the strategy is quite rare. This is most commonly used in survival games, where buildings are more valuable. Aircraft carriers are the most expensive naval unit in the game, and for a good reason too. Along with their ability to produce most aircraft, excluding stealth bombers, aircraft carriers have the largest range of all naval units, which is the same as the command centers, and also are very effective at assuring your control of all of the coastal area in the map. They also have the ability to buff nearby naval units. However, it is important that you are able to defend your carriers from submarine attacks, because they can attack submarine units. Lastly, aircraft carriers can garrison up to 12 planes or infantry. Use that knowledge to your advantage. The Conquerors theory is all about being aggressive and being one step ahead of your opponents. If you and all your teammates send your light soldiers to a strategic point at the beginning of the match, it allows you to have an advantage for the rest of the game. 6 to 9 light soldiers is a formidable force, at least at the start of the round. Furthermore, the scout can be used to establish plants. You don't really need the light soldiers to do so. Oil ships are very cheap at $35 and can be used to make oil rigs. Oil rigs give the same income as power plants and can be built over oil spots. On maps with oil, having control of the oil can provide up to a plus 40 advantage for your economy. If your enemy is raiding your plants with planes, build anti-aircraft turrets to stop them. Although it may cost a lot of money, it is better than losing your crystal to your enemy. Similarly, if your plants are being attacked by land troops, build turrets. Although they may not be as useful in the late game, having an extra turret to stop raids in the beginning of the game will provide a big advantage to your defending army. Here are some more strategy tips that we did not exactly have enough clips for.
I would like to thank my friend SirAwesome21 for recording the voiceovers in the video, contributing to the video script, and featuring in the gameplay. I would also like to thank my friend I Am a Node Fan for also featuring in the gameplay. Thank you for watching.